Good morning, folks. We are going to get started. As my second grade teacher wife says, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Does everyone know that one? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My wife's a second grade teacher. I work in the Department of Health and Welfare for lots of kid-related stuff, and my oldest is a pediatrician, so it's in the family. She came back after med school and said, I think I want to be a dermatologist. And I said, I don't think so. You're working with kids. It's in the family blood. My name is Monty. I'm a deputy director at the Department of Health and Welfare, supporting child welfare and a handful of other things. I get the privilege of working with Jean Fisher in the back. Jean, raise your hand. Jean, raise your hand. There she is, the amazing Jean Fisher, who stepped out of retirement to help innovate and support what we're doing in child welfare. So thank you, Jean, very much to do that. We joke that's the only thing she ever failed at was retirement. So thank you, Jean, again, for your help in that. And soon we'll introduce Sage and Mrs. Jones on the work we're doing. So been doing this role for about 18 months. And in the 18 months, one of the things we jumped into was something we called our wildly important goal. And that was to double the rate of foster families supporting foster kiddos. And the way we decided to start doing that was having a listening session. So we listened to about 150 different stakeholders between foster families, bio parents, law enforcement, prosecutors, public defenders, guardian ad litems, many stakeholders in this room. What works well was our question. What needs to be innovated was our next question. And we heard so many cool things that are working well. We heard wonderful stories about case managers, wonderful stories about guardians ad litem supporting kids. Just a lot of the things in the system work well. And we also heard stories about things we need to innovate. And those are the things that we really focused on. So I'm here to tell you that in those listening sessions led us to leading into spaces that have led to the data I'm about ready to share with you, and the other two folks that we're about ready to talk to, some of the work that they're doing. So when we started this journey, we had 74 foster families supporting 100 kids in need. Clearly that's an imbalance. And when there's that imbalance, that leads to burnout of foster families, that leads to kids' most appropriate placement not being available, so you go to a second placement or a third placement. So lots of reasons why we needed to move that number. Today, 42% increase in that number. We have 104 foster families supporting every 100 kids in need. So that's a big difference supporting kids. And one of the things that we learned along the way was about recruitment and retention as we were talking to our foster families. And as we talked about how we could do both of those better, recruitment and retention, a couple things came up. And so what Ms. Jones and Sage are going to talk about a little bit is how efforts that they're involved with help retention and recruitment, but also how to outreach to community partners such as yourselves. How can we benefit foster families and foster kids? So here's an example. One of the things we learned was, annually is foster parents' license is up. They have to then decide whether to move forward with a second year of license or third year or continue that license. What if they look back on that year and thought about amazing things that we could do to support them, like, hey, can we partner with Parks and Rec and get a parks pass for our foster families? Fish and Game has jumped in and said, here's some fishing licenses we could offer to foster parents, their bio kids and foster kids. So just little experiences we give along the way to support the foster families, but also think about that foster kid who may have never been fishing. That when we work to reunify, and we do reunify almost 2/3 of the time within 9 months with bio parents, what if that foster kid goes back and says, hey, I learned about fishing? What does that do to support that family with a protective factor, right? You're creating protective factors in that family, and that's one of the things that Ms. Jones and Sage are going to talk to you about today. So without further ado, I think I missed all my slides. Hold on. And Ms. Jones worked so hard at them, so I want to honor them. What's that? Oh, the photos. Okay. What is this photo of? Ms. Jones. Farragut. So this is one up north, Sage Country. Fostering Family Adventure. So this is one of those parks events that, again, it helps to build that protective factor in that. And that kid goes back and talks to mom and dad after reunification and says, I learned there's this cool submarine at the bottom of this lake. That's the submarine park, right? Okay. Does everyone know there's a submarine at the bottom of a lake up north? Yeah, it's true. Ms. Jones thought I was teasing, but it's true. Okay. Okay, good. Sage is going to come up and talk about his initiative working with partners in the faith community, again, all supporting our initiatives. And then Ms. Jones will round off with Family Community Partnerships, which was launched in part to support foster kids, building those protective factors, and helping our foster families know that they're a big part of a community. So I think, what's this picture of? So a book drive we did at the holidays to support kids, foster parents and foster kids. One of the things we really did, we ran some data, and we learned that when bio parents visit their kids, the outcomes, the reunification happens quicker. So we've invested a lot of time and energy into our own visitation spaces. We have support from community members, Freedom Youth Foundation supporting us inside and in our outside visitation spaces. So without community support, without your support, we couldn't do these things. Visitation spaces is one of the many. So thank you very much. And I think Sage is up next. Thank you, Sage.
Thank you, Monty. Hello, everybody. I'm going to back up a couple here and explain a little bit about what the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives is. On my business card, it's going to say Regional Director of Faith-Based Initiatives. My region happens to be the whole state of Idaho. That's just an HR issue with calling me the Regional Director. I was brought on by Director Adams, former Director Adams, in November of 24. I had resigned from the legislature. He figured I wasn't doing anything, and he was correct, and he asked if I'd be interested in creating an Office of Faith-Based Initiatives to support getting more participation within foster care, recruiting families. As he looked around the country, some of the statistics that Monty had shared also, what states were doing this correctly, what states had great participation in providing families for foster children, and each one of those states had an Office of Faith-Based Initiatives that was interacting with the faith community in that state. So Director Adams asked me if I'd be interested in doing this. I thought that sounds like a wonderful thing to do, so I started working in November of 24 last year. Was my full year of going around the state and trying to build this out and find partners to do that. But what really exposed itself is we need to go much deeper than just recruiting parents for foster care to serve those foster children, that there is a preventative aspect to this to really stop those children from coming into the system in the first place. So faith-based initiatives, engaging the faith communities as trusted partners. Our statistics show it mostly is the faith community that's doing this work already, that are responding to that and serving within this realm and doing that. So this is continuing to encourage and strengthen, and then find those pockets in the state that maybe aren't interacting in that way and encouraging them to do that. Creating structured partnership pathways, that'll come along a little bit later, and what we're doing to partner with the department as well as faith-based organizations, and then aligning the mission with child and family well-being, that comes along as well. Strengthening families before crisis. So not just serving our neighbor, well, it is exactly serving our neighbor that is out there, but building those relationships immediately right across the street from the church, let's say, and not just being a foster parent, which is necessary and ideal, but hopefully working with those families to prevent the need for foster care in the first place. To see a family in crisis, when the state can identify that, and then encouraging our faith partners to go out and interact with that family and provide support that they need in tactile ways, but also spiritual ways, and just support in general in helping them get through something and building a relationship that can continue. It's not just a one touch and I'm gone, but building a relationship so that this family will have support, so that family can flourish. That's the ideal, where they will not need to go into the system and except for the most extreme circumstances in doing that. Surrounding parents and caregivers. When we do have foster families, it's an incredibly hard task. Many of you know that. It's physically and emotionally draining in doing that. So when you have people around you that can support you, that can provide the respite in doing that, continuing to encourage that in different areas. Again, lots of that here in the Treasure Valley. Up in the north, we have some good support systems as well in Coeur d'Alene and a little bit further north, but there's pockets throughout the state that don't have them. So my job is to go out there and continue to develop that and try and encourage people to wrap around those families and provide those supports for those that are fostering at this point. The mentorship portion of it and the tangible support that I mentioned before is a key part of it in building these people up, the folks that are having the struggles, and letting them know there's somebody there to help with you, but also giving them some information maybe they don't have of how they can continue to grow and come out of the crisis that they're in and doing that, and continuing to have people walk beside them every step of the way there. Not just one piece of support and help and then moving on, but a relationship that is built with those closest to you that can continue and help those families flourish. And then kinship, of course, which we have a lot of kinship. Some of it goes unseen. It's not directly tied to the department, but where we can give that same support to kinship families is ideal as well. And the church is well positioned, and all faith communities are well positioned to do that, and especially those that are right around them. And a lot of our focus that Director Adams started and Monty started is that prevention piece. And how are we getting to these families and providing them with supports before they fall into the system in that neglect model where it's somewhat amorphous of what has somebody fall into our system, and then that kind of extends the trauma sometimes, the best we can do, but still once a family is broken, that's extending that trauma, and we want to keep that family whole and keep them going and flourishing, because that's better for mom, dad, and child. It's also better for our community and society going forward in doing that. So a lot of our focus in this faith-based office is now on the prevention side of it. I'm still out there encouraging participation so we continue to have more families than we need for the foster care. But the prevention side of it, where we can help families before they fall into the system, is what we're focusing on. So, Miss Jones, not Mrs. Jones. We can talk a little bit more about the partnerships that we're developing out in the community and with our faith-based community as well. So, Ms. Casey Jones.
How do I look here? So just continuing that conversation, we know that there's an ecosystem of support that communities give to youth and families. So those faith communities, businesses, neighbors, nonprofits, along with the public systems that, yes, we house the data, we have the communication to the families and the staff that work with families, but we also work with all of you, and we work with community partners to build that ecosystem that's healthy for youth and families to do prevention work or to support youth and families that are involved in the child welfare system. So one thing I want to share about you today, and please come by our table that's in the rotunda. You'll see some pages that look like this and a guidebook that looks like this, and you're welcome to take one home. This is our initiative that's called Community Builders, and this is a way to connect everyday generosity of people, organizations, groups, church groups, student groups, businesses that have everyday generosity that they would like to provide, but we connect them with intentional impact. So there's many ways that we can support youth and families. So you'll see our Become a Foster Parent signs around the different communities and out in the rotunda as well. But we know that it's a big ask for families to become foster parents, and we highly, highly value them. But there's a lot of ways that that communities can give back. So we try to provide some intentional ways that they can do that. So one of them is by volunteering or sponsoring family events and gatherings that bring everyone together for fun, learning, and connection. Support groups and volunteer teams that lend a helping hand when you need it the most. Those who want to put together donation drives, supply drives, or care packages to make daily life a little bit easier for youth and those families. And then also mentorship and respite opportunities to give families support, guidance, and a breather. So we try to connect anyone who has some generosity that they would like to share with youth and families, connect them to intentional projects or opportunities where they can really give give back in an impactful way. So just wanted to share this really quick. We just had a recent event, Fostering Family Adventures, which is a really popular one for foster families and kinship families that we hold in state parks, along with our partnership with Idaho Department of Parks and Rec. So we supply state park passes to each foster family, but we also invite foster family and kinship families to enjoy the outdoors, enjoy outdoor activities with us at our Fostering Family Adventures event, We had about 200 in our last event in January at Eagle Island, and we've also been to Farragut State Park in North Idaho. We've been to Bruno Dunes. Our next stop is Massacre State Park in Region 5. So we love seeing the families there. We have great volunteers that come and from different groups, and they serve these youth and families in the outdoors, like making s'mores, making hot chocolate, doing educational nature programs with the park staff. There's various ways that people have donated their time and efforts to support these families. And we really enjoyed a remark from one of our child welfare supervisors that is also a volunteer at some of these events. And she really pointed out that there was a lot of fun, but there was also emphasis on safety and protection. So a lot of these youth, they haven't felt safety and protection. That's why they're in child welfare services. And these volunteers lifted them up while they're roasting marshmallows or whatever they're doing and said, be careful around the fire, it's really hot, or this is how you make a s'more. And some of these kids have never done that before. So she highlights that it's something that a lot of us take for granted, but some children may never have experienced. So these are just some ways that communities come together to provide unique opportunities for youth and families and become community builders. Another thing I'd like to share with you is the Idaho Community Resource Network. So we're working different department or different programs and divisions within health and welfare are working together along with community partners to identify as many community resources that are local to communities throughout the state to make sure that they are all listed on Find Help Idaho. So I know many of you in here have community resources that are a go-to for you or that you would recommend for youth and families. And you can also come up to me in the rotunda and let me know, hey, this is a really great mentorship program. We would really recommend it for Find Help Idaho. And so we're making those access points to all the resources that youth and families need more accessible through everyday use like Find Help Idaho and our 211 services. So different ways that you can engage. Come and see me in the rotunda if you'd like to partner with family and community partnerships. If you would like to engage with the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, we have some information on that and can tell you a little bit more and let you know ways that you and your church or ministry can get involved. Ensure services, if you work with an organization or you recommend, make sure that those services are listed on Find Help Idaho. Let me know if I can help them get started by sending them a training or something similar or communication. And also just share resources with families. So all foster families receive this Foster Family Monthly where we share resources and opportunities and activities, but we're also always open to creative ideas. So please let us know and contact us with the Division of Family and Community Partnerships. And I believe that's all for us. So thank you for your time and attention.
She told me to tap dance for 10 minutes for the next speaker. Clap for 10 minutes. Just again, thank you all coming out for sure. Appreciate Voices putting this event together every year. Ms. Jones wandered off, Sage wandered off, and I wandered off without asking if there's any questions about the data we see in the system or about our future initiatives and how we're trying to support both foster families and foster kids. Any questions? I have a question for the group. How many kids in foster care today? Anybody have an idea? How many? Too many? Yes. Zero is the best answer, but the current answer is 1,185. How many foster parents? Okay, you math people in the room. I heard somebody say they're a social worker, so don't ask me to do math earlier today. But I told you it was 1.04 earlier, so 1.04, 1,185 foster kids. That means there's got to be over 1,200 foster families. Yes, 1,254 foster families supporting those 1,185 kids. Again, that allows us to match those kids' needs better with that family dynamic to ensure that there's not a unplanned move along the way, which of course is not ideal for anybody. Let's see, anything else going once? Lutheran? You want to?
wasn't seeking to get up here again. As far as those partnerships that we have and what we can do within the faith community, but Lutheran Community Services down here in the Treasure Valley does a great job providing respite for families in crisis, but also foster families in doing that and providing a lot of those supports that are necessary that we were describing. And in the north, all the way up in Sandpoint, there's a group called Idaho Families that is doing the same thing, that if a family recognizes they're having some trouble, they can give guardianship of their child for up to 6 months to another family while that family that is in crisis figures itself out, Lord willing, and what they're going to be doing to give them that time and space to settle things down and then hopefully bring that child back. So that was a law passed, I believe it was 22 or 23, allows that temporary caregiver, temporary guardianship. And both Lutheran Community Services and Idaho Families up in Sandpoint does that. So in the big picture, as far as respite goes and support, those are two models that are very similar models that are working very well that we're trying to replicate in the eastern part of the state and the southern part as well, because they both have shown great promise. And Lutheran Community Services is growing quite a bit now, I think, in its interaction with the department as well, so we can continue to help them in what their mission is as they continue to expand it. So that's a small example of the things that we're doing to provide that support. That wasn't 10 minutes, I don't think. No. All right. Yes, sir. Or ma'am, sorry.
Yeah, thank you for the question. For those of you who didn't hear about renewing licenses, I would love it if it was 100%, but everyone starts a volunteer journey and may end up at a different spot, certainly, but we've seen a higher uptick of renewals. Oh yeah, I think it's all about how do you create an environment that foster families feel supported. And one of the ways that we've done that, and I think Ms. Jones showed you the Foster Family Monthly that we started. There's the Resource Peer Mentor program that has started many years ago under with the support of Eastern Washington University that connects foster families with a lived experience mentor who is not a family or who's not a foster care worker. In addition, we started about a year ago, we started a 24/7 helpline. So we now have clinicians on standby to answer phone calls from foster parents, post-adopt parents, and even bio parents if they're going through a prevention case, to try to ensure we can get in the home as early as possible to prevent any unplanned moves. Recently, our team who answers that phone call shared a story that mentioned that they probably saved unplanned move and at the same time helped a youth not self-harm. So it was a really heartwarming story about the work we're trying to do to make sure foster families feel supported, valued, and part of our team at Health and Welfare. Thanks for the question. That's it? Right. Thank you, Sage.